I think people massively underestimate just how expensive it is to live in a house. And I don't mean renovate it, I mean just to exist. We bought this house 6 years ago and we pay £1,258 on our mortgage every month. Plus, we overpay £100 a month because we're in our 40s now and we want to try and get it down a bit quicker. Then there's council tax, water, gas and electric, Netflix, Sky TV, which just seems to be the gift that keeps on giving and keeps going up and up and up. TV license, don't get me started on that one. And every other subscription that seems to leave your bank account constantly. And then you've got the added cost of groceries. And this is another one that just seems to skyrocket every single year. So without even spending a penny on ourselves, our bills come in at over £2,000 every single month. And then there's the stuff like maintenance that nobody tells you about before you buy your house. For example, on day one of owning this house, our patio doors fell off in my hand. I was just glad that it wasn't the kids that were trying to open them. Now, we had planned already to buy bifolds for that space, so it cost us £5,000 to do that work before we were ready. And now we've realised that the work that was done on this rendered wall wasn't done properly the first time, and it is all blown, it's chipped away, and now we have to have it redone, and that's another big cost. And I think that this part of home ownership is the bit that no one really explains. Everyone just talks about the mortgage and the deposit. I always say that when you're planning to buy a house, don't just factor in the deposit and the initial saving. Make sure you're looking at all the on-costs that might come once you get the keys. I have got a full breakdown of buying costs and running costs inside my home buyer toolkit, but if you do nothing today, just save this video down and make sure that you are mentally prepared for all the costs that might come your way when you're buying your first home.
So when I bought my first two houses, I went against all the advice that the financial experts tell you to do. And I'll probably get roasted for this, but let me tell you what I did and why I did it. So I totally maxed out my debt to income ratio. In other words, my loan officer said, you're qualified for this much. And I went right up to that limit. I bought the most expensive house I could afford. And being that I'm saying this as a loan officer, I'll probably get roasted more. But, you know, there's a reason why I did it. So back then, my business was growing a lot. I knew it was going to increase every year, my income. And so when I could barely afford a house back then, I knew in a year I'd be in a better position, the year after that, a better position, the year after that, a better position. So this blanket advice that says you only go up to so much of your income, that isn't for everyone's situation. And there's several reasons why you'd want to even think about maxing out your debt to income ratio. And those could include someone that gets regular raises, or their business is growing and they know it's going to grow, or say you have part-time income that's not being counted, or you have a spouse that's going to be going back to work because maybe you guys had kids. So you really need to look at your situation. After 2 years, I did it again because my family was growing. I needed a bigger house at that point. So it worked out well for me, but you have to look at your individual situation and know what's best for you. My name is Jeff. I'm a loan officer. I've been in the financial world for 30 years. Hit me up if you want my help.
Got it.
Buying a house in the United States just got more expensive, and by about $15,000. Or any home for that matter, because of the lawsuit that just settled. So to break it down as simple as possible, as a result from this, starting this summer, what we're going to see is a seller of a home only is going to discuss the commission of the realtors for their specific agent. On average in the past, it was 3% to the seller's agent, 3% to the buyers. Obviously that gets negotiated a lot, but that's the industry standard. Now, by the two of them only discussing that, it's going to leave the buyer's agent out of the picture a lot of the times, not always. But I think there's also going to be a lot of times, especially in a competitive market, where the buyer just has to pick up this cost. The average home price in the United States that sells is $417,000. That is about 13 grand. So from this, somebody's got to pay that. Now, like I said, a lot of times the seller will still cover this. So I think we're going to start seeing a lot of for sale by owners and a lot of unrepresented buyers as well.
Hi, my name's Reed. I've been saving the past couple years to buy a home, and I have enough money for a down payment, but I think I've changed my mind. I've been doing a lot of research on buying homes, like what I would qualify for, what kind of loans and grants and things I would qualify for. I've been looking at the return on investment in the area that I'm particularly looking in buying, and it is pretty good, but I am not ready to take the responsibility of maintaining a home. I feel like growing up, I was always taught that buying a home is just a part of life. But as I started to really research, I'm like, okay, well, if something goes wrong with the plumbing, that's on me. If something stops working, that's on me. Whereas right now I rent basically a small 2-bed, 2-bath home, and everything's taken care of. As soon as something's gone wrong, fixed. I also live in Texas, in a metropolitan area. The taxes here are crazy. Property tax is insane. Quite honestly, the only thing that is pushing me still towards buying a home is giving this little girl a yard.
The average home price in America just went up to $415,000. At a 20% down payment, that would mean you would have to save up $100,000 plus with closing fees and a 6-month emergency fund for a 20% down payment. The problem is that the average American makes between $50,000 to $70,000 a year, and it would take them, without spending any money on car notes, paying off a car loan, paying off student loans, 20 years to save up $100,000. That's about $2,700 you put away every single month for 20 years to save up $100,000. Now, the problem is home prices double every 20 years. So basically, nobody can qualify for these homes.
The reason why housing is so expensive right now is because there is not enough housing, and nothing else will change it until more housing is built. This is a chart showing housing inventory over time. It shows all of the residential properties which are available for rent or sale. And as you can see, it is the lowest that it's been in a very long time. Biggest reason age-wise is that baby boomers have just not had the good graces to begin perishing as a generation yet, while millennials have hit peak home buying age. There are simply more buyers on the market than there are sellers. This has been added on to recently with certain financial decisions, such as with mortgage rates being incredibly low a couple years ago and have recently jumped up. What this has produced is essentially a lock-in effect, where if you purchased a home during this time or before, it's less expensive for you to just stay in the home that you have as opposed to move to another place, so people are just less likely to sell their homes. And this shortage of housing has been many years in the making. The biggest reason why is that we just stopped building houses after the housing crisis, which, yeah, I know functionally makes sense, but we never brought it back up quick enough, and now we're trying to play catch up. And a multiplier of this is, of course, that the price of just construction has also went up. There are obviously other things that affect the price of housing, but the fact remains that all of the easy political buzzwords that you can throw out to just exonerate yourself from the problem do not change this chart. Until these numbers begin to look a little bit more like these numbers, mathematically, housing prices are going to suck. Should also make sure to mention that there's a whole lot of NIMBYism that influences these decisions. Meemaw and Peepaw, who bought their house back in these days, only want to see the price go up and to the right. However, that's terrible for everyone else who isn't Meemaw and Peepaw. Groundbreaking economic discovery. If demand is higher than supply, price goes up. Impossible, I know, but yeah, that's at least part of the reason why this sucks so much.
Some people say if you rent, you're just throwing money away. You should own if you can. But owning a house is also very expensive. And I don't want this video to discourage you from buying a house or encourage you to buy houses for educational purposes only. But I want to show you my wife and I's loan. $359,000 we owe at a 5.75% interest rate. We have a 30-year fixed loan, and we've been paying on it for 3.5 years. But just look at how expensive this is and how little is going towards the principal, especially at first. So our monthly payment is $2,825, but our interest is $1,720. Our property taxes and homeowners insurance is about $600 a month, but only $480 a month is going towards paying down that $359 because our loan amount is so high right now, so the interest is kicking our ass. So we're going to send in $2,825 for 12 months, and it's going to be basically $34,000 that we're going to send in for our house. And this doesn't include utilities, this doesn't include maintenance, this doesn't include our security system, this doesn't include our $97 HOA. So probably more like $35,000 to $36,000 we're going to send in this year. However, only $5,800 is going to go towards paying down the principal. The reason this happens is because the higher your loan is, the more interest you're paying, because we're paying 5.75% on the total balance. So it's going to take us until year 19 until our principal outweighs our interest if we don't make any extra principal payment. Lastly, I was thinking, well, 3.5 years, we've probably spent $110,000 that we've sent in monthly, and only $19,000 or $20,000 has gone towards the principal. I got to really make it a priority to send in extra principal payments, because the lower the principal goes, the quicker it'll be that we can actually pay this off and not be hit with so much interest.
My name's Derek, and I'm a DIY homeowner. What's a DIY homeowner? Someone that buys a house without realizing how fucking expensive it is to have a house. But hey, I'm a homeowner, so I'm blessed to be this fucked. Do I possess the skills to build this fence? Absolutely not. But did I do it anyways? Yes. because I got quoted like $5,000 to build it, and I was like, I could do that shit myself for under $1,000, and look, it barely fucking wiggles. And you know what? I did a mostly good job, until you look down there and it's like almost falling over. But you might see that and be like, oh damn, that sucks. But I'm a DIY homeowner, so I look at it as another exciting project. Let's go see what happened. Just as I suspected, erosion, probably from global warming, or that fucking thing over there that runs water all down here and washes my fucking earth away. Probably global warming, though. Luckily, I've had this 4x4, this 2x4, and a bag of concrete at my house for the last 2 years because I just fucking knew I'd need it. Mix that together with a little suburban ingenuity, and voila. I'm gonna pull the fence back and secure it using this little contraption here. Is it a little ghetto? Absolutely. But I'm a DIY homeowner. And if you're thinking right now, oh my God, that could never be me, you're wrong. If you act quickly and work with your local realtor, you too can get a 9% mortgage interest rate and a credit card from Lowe's with a 38% interest rate. Get fucked, stay fucked.